music. Following him, we have Adam Small, who is the head of A&R at Artistry Group. Then we have Corey Litwin, who is the CEO at 2222 Music Group. After that,
It's called 2020 Music.
oh, the two had me confused.
2020.
Okay, 2020. I'm sorry, guys. 2020. After him, we have Branger Ringo,
Yes.
Senior Director of A&R Warner Chapel Music. And then we have A.D. Johnson, who is in music licensing, and he's an executive at Universal Music Group and Universal Production Music. So me and Branger are gonna hold it down up here for the ladies.
Yes.
So our first question, this is for everyone to answer. How did you guys get your start in music?
I guess everybody look down here. Originally I started playing drums since I was 5, so that's where the initial start came from, loving music, and I knew at that point I wanted to be in it. Went to college, did a whole bunch of events, majored in entertainment and sports, did a lot of concerts and different shows, so was still kind of connected with the music, so I started kind of in events. Post-graduation, couldn't find a job for 3 years, so I started, I saw the Dallas Cowboys. I always wanted to work there. I saw they was started building the stadium, and so applied for a lot of jobs, but the only job I can get was security. So got a security job, worked the first season of the Dallas Cowboys, always had business cards on me, and the last game of the season, got a call to do a job for group sales, and that was doing group sales for games, concerts, and things like that. So I had the experience in doing events and doing that. And then within the Cowboys, I did a salsa fest day and did a whole bunch of concerts I wasn't supposed to do at the stadium. They wanted me to do more sales instead of event creation. Within there, I started my own brand. I wanted to start managing and also kind of do more like label jobs and things like that. So I started Chosen Musicians while I was at Cowboys. Stayed there for a year. My first artist was a guy named Joseph Solomon, and that's kind of how I got my start doing that with Chosen Musicians. And then from there, I built the brand to be able to get the position I'm in at Universal. So.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Randra. I'm from St. Louis originally, and so I basically got my start in the music business. Okay, I'll just tell you how I got my start in music. I used to play saxophone, piano, and I studied classical voice. So I was always a fan of music. Wanted to be an artist at one point. That didn't work out. I'm not a star, so I'm like, let me just work on the business side. So I got my start in the music business. Obviously, coming up in St. Louis, Nelly was probably the most popular thing at the time, which was awesome for the city. So I ended up interning with his management company, which later gave me the opportunity to move to New York because he was based out of Republic at the time, which was Universal Records back then. And I ended up meeting Monty Lipman, got introduced to a few people, ended up working in the Universal system, worked at Def Jam, eventually started assisting different artists like Usher, and then I ended up moving into publishing later on because that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do publishing, I wanted to work with songwriters and producers. So I worked at ASCAP briefly, and then after that I worked at Universal Publishing for about 7 years, maybe 7, 8 years. And now I'm at Warner Chapel, so that's how I pretty much got my start there.
What's up, I'm Corey. I want to say Brandon's one of the best publishers in the game.
Yeah.
He publishes a few people I work with as well. Shout out Wallace too. Yeah, I'm from Toronto, Canada. Shout out Canada. This is a Canadian suit jacket, by the way. Yeah, I just love music from a young age. Got into hip hop. In grade 3, I bought my first CD, Fugees, to score. And music, how I started. I always knew I wanted to work in music. Didn't really know how I was going to do it. Started promoting clubs in Toronto, and then the university I went to started doing concerts. Through Drake's first concert in Toronto in 2009, and then started a company called 2020 Marketing. Had no idea that I'd be doing this company and business till the year 2020, so it's kind of crazy now. Did a bunch of concerts, wanted to get out of the club game, so started working in offices. Became like the guy in Toronto when rappers and NBA players came, but wanted to have more to offer than just parties and whatever else comes with that. Started a grills company called Goldie Rocks Grills in Toronto. Started making grills for. Just noticed that it was a trend in 2000. I think it's like 2015, 14, no, like 2013, 14. So started making grills for a lot of people out here in LA, coming down from Canada, which is very difficult. Because we're not legally allowed to work here. Met a kid at a jewelry store in 2014 by the name of Murda Beats. Didn't really know anything about producers. He made a couple mixtape songs with his new Atlanta street group called Amigos at that time. Obviously everyone's familiar with them now. And I started helping him with his business. He knew that I was well connected in Toronto and started learning the business from many great mentors. Came out to LA. From Canada, we're not allowed to come here and work, and you can't get a visa until you're popping, but you can't start working until you have a visa. So we had to come out here, say we're coming to visit a friend for a week, and then stay for 3 months. I was making grills for every rapper, Kardashian, everyone. Well, my friend and partner in the back, Bianca, was running the business back home, and every bit of money we made was for free grills for celebrities, so I can get Murda in the room with these artists. And started working and living with a close friend of mine from Toronto, Party Next Door, back when he had the #1 song, Work, for like 10 weeks, and me going around with him to every session and really helped me make a lot of relationships. And then, got Murda with Drake, and Migos took off, and just working relentlessly, me and him together. Very socially engineered career, very unique career that we created, and now Murda's an artist, and now we co-own a publishing company together. I relaunched my 2020 marketing company as 2020 Music Group. Now manage 5 or 6 producers, an artist in Toronto has an album coming out with OVO December 13th named Bugs. Songwriter, artist Adam Halliday, who just dropped on Friday. And Murda's on tour as an artist, one of the hottest producers in the game. And I'm also an A&R consultant at Capitol Records, and I have a label there too. And that's
Yo, you are so nonchalant, but you are really killing the game right now, guys. Anybody else is like, wow, you just so chill about it. I love that.
I still feel like I'm just starting.
That's an amazing way to be, though.
There's one thing about the start. When I came out here, I thought I knew everything about music because I had subscriptions to every magazine since I was a kid. I read every blog, everything like that. But when I came out to LA, it was very humbling, realizing that I knew zero about the music business. And everything I've done, everything I do now is still, like, any decision, anything, I'm calling someone asking for advice. And, yeah, so that's it. Bianca.
Well, alright. I'm Adam. I'm from Detroit originally. Been in LA for about 7 years. I got my start. I was in finance school at Butler University in Indianapolis, and I needed an internship. And a friend of mine was working for Snoop Dogg at the time, and asked if I wanted to come and like hang out at the office and be a marketing intern, which was really more about curating his his brand. At the time he was doing Reincarnated and doing a reggae vibe, which was kind of a switch up for what he's known for. And then just from there, just started, interning, doing a lot of work for free for whoever I could work for. I was at Universal Music Group Distribution for a while. Then I was working with Too Short. And then I eventually linked up with my now partner, Max Goose, in 2014. Started as an intern and, worked my way up to assistant, then A&R. And then, when we got Sweetie, we started a label together. And through that, was able to, cultivate great relationships, make a couple hit records. In addition, I started a management company where I manage a bunch of producers and songwriters that I use to help furnish my projects. And I have a publishing venture at BMG.
That's
Y'all are really amazing up here. Good, drop bombs.
I'm Wallace Joseph, originally from Florida. I moved out to LA about 6 years ago, not really knowing what was happening on the West Coast, so I was like, let's small town kid, not really small town, but just like didn't know what was going on the West Coast. Pretty much me, I started playing the trumpet from like the 6th to 12th grade and I sucked. And I was like, yo, I have an acumen for business. I was in also school of business at Florida Atlantic University. And I was like, taking e-law classes. I wanted to be an entertainment attorney. And I was like, yo, I don't know about that. And I just one day got up and I was like, yeah, in my senior year with like 3 or 4 classes left, I dipped. I was like, I'm moving, I'm leaving. Mom, I'm sorry. And I had never been on a plane before in my life. And I just jumped on a plane and flew to LA. And it was a huge risk, but it paid off because I moved out here with like 5 or 6 guys where every day we were grinding. There was some days where like, I would try to figure out ways to get in sessions because this industry is like a community. It's like, you gotta have relationships. You could be the most talented person, but you could be sitting on the sidelines for a very long time. So I had to figure out strategic ways and methods to get my way in the door. So I always use this analogy: is put yourself where you see yourself. So I started going to places where people that I admired, managers and stuff like that I wanted to be around, artists, and think that where certain venues were speaking at places. And what I would do, I did all my research on them using social media, which was Instagram at that point when it was starting to boom. I knew their whole entire life. So when I went and had a conversation with them, and this manager was like, yo, I love to play basketball at this place. I'd be like, oh, I'm there all the time. I love playing there. They're like, oh, we should get together and play. But prior to that, they would never speak to me. They would never have a conversation. So I found ways to be relatable to these people. And then one of the clients that I worked with produced a couple of huge songs. One was Broccoli by Drum. That was like 8 times platinum. Where Are You Now by Justin Bieber, Diplo, and Skrillex. And then I had another client produce X Callin' for Black. And then the opportunities came rolling. But before that, it was a real struggle. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like coming to LA, anybody that moves to LA, I commend you. And stay in it and don't take no for an answer. Because when we started, I had absolutely nothing. I was working at a finance company called United Capital, which is a huge company, and I just quit. I had no money when I came out here, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna figure it out. People told me I was gonna fail. People told me I was gonna get on drugs. Never done any drugs in my life. I get a little lit though on my drug, but last night I lost my phone in Uber, but I'm back. I ain't gonna lie to you. But just to say that, it's like, yo, persevere, stay strong. I came out here 6 years ago. I knew no one. Kept grinding, worked very hard, and at this point now I'm the senior director of urban A&R at Warner Chapel. And my partner in crime is Brandra Ringo. She keeps me in check.
Listen to women.
Yeah. My attorney's a woman. My accountant's a woman. Pull them in first.
So, for everything that you guys are doing on a day-to-day, what have been some of your biggest obstacles, or just even in your journey to where you are now? What have been some of the biggest obstacles, and how have you overcome them?
I think for me, my biggest obstacle was leaving an administrative position and finally entering creative. It took forever. And wanting to be an A&R since I was like in high school, I was itching for it every step of the way. And so it's like when you get to that point where you feel like, okay, I've worked my ass off, I deserve to be in a different spot. You just gotta keep pushing. I wanted to give up so many times because I'm like, I'm gonna be stuck in this assistant seat forever. So that was really the hardest obstacle for me, and then also just getting people to see me outside of being an assistant, right? Not only just seeing me as that, but also respecting me as that. So that was the hardest obstacle for me.
I think one of the hardest obstacles a lot of people face is just believing in themselves that they can do what they see people with high job titles doing. I remember being an unpaid intern and being like, I'm not cool with being an intern. And the only thing I knew to get out of that was to actually bring the product in, make it rain, so to speak, and make people put respect on your name by doing good work. And I think, just keeping that level head, knowing that everyone puts on their pants the same way. If you believe it, you can do it, but it starts with you believing in yourself.
Yeah, I know one of the biggest obstacles I faced is before I just moved from Dallas, Texas to LA back in March this year. The biggest obstacle I had was I came out of school in a weird time where the industry was kind of still, it was doing good, but the labels were laying off people, and so the jobs wasn't there that I was trying to get connected to. And so the biggest obstacle was connections, and also finding the skill set to show people that I have, I can do the job at hand. So I started my own. That's why I started my own company, chosen musicians, learning, showing that I can manage artists, showing that I can, find the actual music that is dope besides, hip hop. I was real big on not finding, big on finding music artists that's outside of hip hop. Just because I didn't want to be known as hip hop, even though it's my first love. But I tried to just show my range of, I had a country music artist, I had a poet, was my first artist, and then, then so forth. And then from there, just staying in touch with everybody. I think one of the biggest things that got me here is my friend Tracy here. She stayed in touch at the college. I pretty much had, I put on my calendar everybody's birthday that I knew. And even if I hit you up just one time a year, I stayed in touch. That was my time. And so that was my connection, kind of helping me spearhead, but I also, at the same time, build my resume to get here, so.
To piggyback on that, congratulating people goes a really long way. If I always check the charts every week to see, who's signed, who's unsigned, but I also keep tabs on who's doing what. Just hopping the DM saying congrats on number one, congrats on going top 10.
That's how you do it. That's how you got it on.
Nah. Oh yeah. Nah, but people feel like they're really isolated out here. A lot of people feel like their people are against them. You show yourself as an ally and just someone who's appreciating their work, I'm telling you, it goes a long way.
And there are a lot of times where like the phone calls and text messages are just people who want things. So I think it's also really refreshing, like how you said, remember someone's birthday and saying happy birthday and not, hey, I need you to do, is like a refresher. Like that amazes me that you can remember that many people's birthdays. I forget my own.
That's about the technology.
Oh, I was gonna say, 'cause listen, it ain't happened. They got best friends and I'll be like, I'm sorry. But even with holidays too though, also holidays as well as at the time.
For me, my biggest obstacle was transitioning from Florida to LA, moving out here and knowing no one. Sometimes it can get really lonely, like, every day, and just honestly being broke in LA. I was broke financially, but I wasn't broke mentally, and I think that's what gave me the perseverance to keep going. And I would wake up every day and was like, how can I add value and increase? And I was like, man, I gotta pay bills, I gotta get a job. I was like, and from a creative standpoint, it's so hard sometimes for creatives to say, I gotta get a job and I gotta try to go to a studio. It's blocking me. So I had creatives at home who just didn't want to work because they was like, we might get an opportunity and we can't go to it because we gotta go to 9 to 5. So I would be like, I'm gonna go get a job. I'll still be able to answer emails. I'll step outside, take a call. I'll tell my boss I'm going on lunch and really go to the meeting and try to shoot back. I'm an hour late. He's trying to figure out what's going on. And he seen that my passion wasn't this job. And then I was the guy every Friday that got to curate the music. And it was at that point where we had a hit on the radio and I was already signed to a publisher, but we didn't have the money that was coming in yet. So I'm broke. We got a #1 hit song on the radio and I'm working at this job and my boss is like, I love this song. Like, how do you know this song? I'm like, it's just a song that I like. It's just cool. And he's like, your passion is not this. You love music. You need to go do music. And then I figure out a way to get fired. And then I put up an Hey, listen. My obstacle is being broke in LA, but like I said, I wasn't broke mentally. Stay strong in this, because when you're starting, it's very hard. But my transition to LA was one of the hardest things, man. There was days where, I went homeless in LA. We went from a 3-story crib, I was sleeping in a hostel. I don't know nothing about sleeping in a hostel. I had a friend who was from Haiti. He was like in the hostel, feet kicked up. I was like, bro, I got enough money to where I can fly home. The flight's $189. I will leave. It's like, nah, bro. And I prayed on it, and something told me just stay. After a couple rashes, I said, I'm not doing this no more. I started lying to people. I was like, my apartment's not ready. Can you let me stay here for like 2 days? Then I would be like, damn, I feel like I'm being a burden. I was like, yo, can I stay with you for like 3 days? Like, yeah, my apartment not ready, but it's about to be ready. I just got it over here. And the craziest thing was, I'm gonna wrap it up this. I slept on the street on Argyle Avenue, and it was up a hill. And I was at work. I worked hourly plus commission. It was a job that actually paid well. But just, you know how things work in LA, time would be off. You be like, you need the money today, but you're not getting paid till Friday. So I slept on the street in a car with 4 of my friends. The car got repoed 2 days later, so all my stuff was gone because my friend didn't pay for the carpet. No. And I went to work, and my homie called me and was like, hey, Wallace, we got an apartment. Like, I just started crying at work, like, yo, damn. The crazy thing is, that same street I slept on, I ended up staying at the house, the apartment at the top of the hill. And I didn't even know where the house was at. He's like, yo, send me this much money. I sent him the bread. I was like, yo, I don't even know where we living at. And he texted me the address, and I looked. I was like, yo, you don't even know what happened. The same street that we slept on, we now have an apartment at the top of the hill. And I was like, yo, just perseverance and staying strong. And like, just because you don't have the money monetary, doesn't mean that you're broke mentally. Because it's gonna come. You put the work in, it's gonna come.
Now, anybody can touch on this next question as well. What type of skills and day-to-day work ethic is required to get where you are in your career today?
Responding to people. I know it seems simple, and we deal with a high volume of things, but I do my best to always give back to people, even if I can't deliver for whatever they're asking for. I try to at least give back to them and give them an answer and not just completely ignore them. And organize, of course.
Execution, being able to like see a task from start to finish. I hear people tell me every day all these different things that they're working on. Really just matters what are you actually doing, what are you finishing. Now that I have staff and like my clients have staff and there's a lot of people that I'm kind of leading, like the main thing that I always preach is just seeing jobs to the finish. And for every task, so people will talk about how I'll be like, what's going on with such and such so I'm like, oh, I'm waiting on so-and-so to answer an email. Say, have you called them today? Have you called them in the last hour? Have you shown up at the office? Have you found out where they live and waited outside? Get the job done. It doesn't matter. Like nobody was down. No one was down to do a hip hop session with this little white shaggy haired kid from small town Canada, but figure out a way to make it happen. There's always a way to make it happen. And the difference with accomplishing something and not is often how many times did you try? If you try one time or 5 times or 10 times and give up, you can always get it done. It just some tasks might take failing 100 times until you get it done. Sometimes it might take being creative. It might take like almost every artist that we worked with in the first couple of years, we had to become friends with their friend's friend, and then get to the friend, and then get to the intern, and then get to the artist, or making it real for someone, or staying on one of their friends' couches for a week to then get to that person. Like just figuring out a way to get it done. If you want something to happen and you vision that it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You just got to be patient and be relentless. And I think a big that and just being willing to start at the bottom, being willing to be an intern, being willing to do whatever it takes. I think it's just a lot of it is just a mindset.
I agree. I think with the execution, it's about research and preparation.
I wish I prepared for these questions. I would have better answers.
Y'all doing good.
I mean, when you're going to, meet an executive or you're trying to shop a new producer or songwriter, you should know what that executive's looking for. You should know what products they're working on. I make a point out of my weeks to really set up lunches and meetings with every A&R that I want to interact with so I can stay in tune with what they're doing. It allows me to be more effective as a manager and as an A&R. We were just talking about a record that you might want to get my artist on for your artist. Like knowing that that's happening and that you're working on a project, it allows me to be more prepared when I approach you about something else.
And I know he's going to follow up with me tomorrow, and then if I don't answer a couple hours later, and then he's going to follow up again the next day. And if I don't answer the DM, he's going to text me, Adam, very persistent.
Yo, this is so full circle. I met Corey. Listen, Sweetie had been signed to Warner for about a month, and we were at South by Southwest, and we sat next to each other on a plane. Do you remember this?
And you gave me a charger.
Headphones, I think, whatever it was. But Murder was. He just told me, we just did Drake's biggest record. It's coming. End up being Nice for What. We were just starting, but it's like you stay in touch, you build a relationship with people, and it comes full circle. So you never know who you're talking to, or what value that person can have. Let people show and prove you what they're about, and if they end up being straight up people, keep the relationship and build with it.
Facts.
Big facts.
For me, it's the information. It's being knowledgeable. If you have information, that's the battle right there. What I do is I'm big on research. I'm big on knowing who I'm meeting with, knowing what's moving on the charts. So I go in there I'm out, I'm in the streets, I'm moving around. I'm gonna know something. I know someone that's gonna know someone. Hey, what's this song that's coming out? Hey, I know what's the name works with that person. I'm gonna call him. Okay, cool. You have that person. Hey, all right, cool. Can I get to the producer? Is the producer available? I think being knowledgeable and having the information is part of the battle. But sometimes people go into a room blindly and not have the information. There's not really anything for us to talk about if you're not prepared. So it's even if you don't know how to get to the information, I think it's getting with like-minded individuals and getting to that point, because there's no manual on how to get into the industry, how to be an A&R, how to be a manager. I started as a manager, and I got ripped off by a huge manager, and I learned from that. And I took that as a lesson. At first I was upset, then I realized, this was a great learning lesson. So it's if I had the information at that time, I would have handled it differently, but I learned from that situation, and it helped me apply myself in other situations. So when I did the next deal, I structured a certain way, and I was able to get my producer paid a lot of money and have the rights and have this and make sure the publishing was right. So it's being knowledgeable and having information. If you don't have the information, get together with like-minded individuals. And if they don't have the information, events like this help. Meeting the A&Rs, meeting the managers, and building a relationship with them to help with that.
So you just mentioned something that kind of leads us into the next question. I'm going to throw at you and at Brandra. So there is no handbook or guide to any of this. It's not really ABC. But what advice would you give to someone who is interested in becoming A&R?
It's so crazy. I rarely run into people that want to be A&Rs anymore. Seriously, there's so many opportunities.
Really? Do you know how many people send me mixtapes on Instagram?
People that send us music are typically the artist or the producer or the writer, but it's rare that I get someone that's hi, I want to, actually there's somebody I have to respond to this week, she's 16, I'm going to respond to her. But that was the first time in a very long time, especially black women. I want to support black women who want to be A&Rs. That's tough. No one's looking at us oh, she looks like she wants to be an A&R, or she'll be a dope A&R. Nobody looking at us like that. So specifically, I want to help women be more creative in those fields. You can send me, is it the black woman?
What, yeah?
What do you say?
White man. It's fine.
Sorry.
My response is gonna be crazy, man.
But honestly, I don't get that many inquiries about people that want to become A&Rs, and I think we're in an age where 5, 10 years ago it was a DIY era. We're still in that era, so a lot of people now want to be entrepreneurs. My advice is to get in the building, learn the information, receive the power, and then go out and be an entrepreneur, because there's so much information you can use by just being in the building.
I agree with Brandra. I started as an entrepreneur. I still apply my entrepreneurial mindset in the building. With me, I stumbled into the A&R role. I didn't realize what I was doing was something that people weren't doing in the building, getting paid for. I was putting these sessions together, and these huge hits were coming out of it. I just thought I was just doing my job as a manager. And then I walked out of a BMI Pop Award show, and Shani Gonzalez and Ryan Press had set this thing up the whole time. I thought I was just gonna go have dinner with Shani, and I was like, I'm gonna go back and say bye to some people. And I had this person that I looked up to, but I never really had a relationship with him. And he was like, hey, what you doing? I was like, going home. He's like, no, what are you doing? And I kind of like, I was like, oh. I was like, I manage my clients. He goes, you want to come to the big leagues? I looked at him, I was like, no, I'm good. I don't want to do A&R. He's like, yo, your life will change. He's like, yo, take my number, hit me up. And I battled with him for like 2 months. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm good. And then he called Shani, he was like, I thought your boy was ready. I was like, Shani, I never told you I wanted to be an A&R. He's like, yo, meet me at Craig's at 8 o'clock. Shani was like, yo, you better be there. I walk up, they're both there. I was like, yo, you gonna do this deal, right? I was like, yeah. And I was like, all right, send it to my attorney. And then I walk into the building and I was like, all right, cool. I'm A&R now. But no, truly what I was doing, I was putting these sessions together and great songs and ideas were coming of it. And anybody that inspires, that wants to be an A&R, I say go after it. Just, you gotta bring something to the table. You know, what's gonna help you stand out from the next person that's bringing music or finding an artist or finding talent? Like, what separates you is like, hey, my ability to bring the music and also saying, hey, look, I have the music. This is what we've done with it. Here's our rollout. This is what's going on. Here's a song that I've identified. And finding something early and bringing it to somebody and say, hey, look, here's talent that I can help you with. And watching that thing grow. And then people are just gonna want to say, hey, look, come to the building. A&R is scarce right now. I can't lie to you.
Can I say something to say?
Go ahead.
I think Wallace just said like one of the most important things, that bringing something to the table. A lot of people will tell me in the music industry and just in life in general, talk about all these big things that they want to do and ask for guidance, or I want to do this and yada yada. But like I didn't come out here until I had products. Like I wanted to come to LA since I was 21. I came when I was 27, 28, because I had this kid that I really believed in and super passionate about. And I think even meetings, people will come to meetings with me, and I did it. My first 10 meetings I set up in the music industry, I was just like, we really want to work. What can we do? Like, it's really good to come with something specific, and what, even if you're asking questions, have specific asks. And if you want to work with someone, like tell them something that you're bringing to the table, that you're adding value, not just your great smile and personality. And eagerness to work, which is all important, but it's really important to figure out that thing that separates you and that thing that you can offer to somebody.
I agree, but I have to play devil's advocate. Because it's like the mentality of like, don't come to the table until you're ready. And a lot of times there are people that we see, especially men, just as a woman, I see men entering positions and they are not ready. And they get the positions, and women are always trying to prepare themselves for these positions, and then like we put so much pressure on ourselves. So it's like, if you're not ready, just get in a room with people that will support you, and you'll figure out a way to be ready.
I agree with that too.
You know?
Yeah.
With that.
So I have a question for Adam and for AD. It's about the songwriter royalty. So with songwriter royalties shrinking across DSPs, what's the core revenue driver heading into the new decade? I think this is a good question.
I also,
What's the answer to that?
are they shrinking? I thought they were getting better.
I mean, it depends what I don't know what numbers far as that statement was about, but I see it trending up in the next decade when it comes to songwriting and producing. As a music licensing executive, I noticed a lot of trends when it comes to streaming platforms. How many of you guys have seen the Disney, heard about Apple streaming, heard about all these streaming platforms that are trying to compete with the Netflix and things like that? So I think licensing and placements is going to be a very big driver, because there's so much content that is being produced. There's going to need music to lay onto those content beds, and so that's, I believe, the next big revenue stream. At the same time as creating those people creating those content, being in contact with those filmmakers and things like that, I think those placements is going to go up.
Is there one lane of content that someone that's like a new person in this should like focus on getting their like you know what I'm saying? Because there's film, there's digital, there's so much.
Here's what I suggest. Get in bed with music supervisors. There's this group called the Guild of Music Supervisors. I I say get in those lanes. Go to those meetings, go to where they are, go to where these filmmakers are, because that's what I do. As a music license executive, I go out and find where they are. And so there is no certain like lane to go, but that's a start to at least get in a room where music supervisors are, where film producers are, because music is needed in all those places, and there's so much content that is being produced that sometimes music is the last to think about, but it's very much needed. And if you be in those rooms, those conversations, being in their mind, I think it's very important that I think that's going to be a big revenue stream for songwriters and producers in the next decade. I don't know if you had to add anything to that.
I think
I
Brandon
just wanted
wanted
to educate the room on streaming and how it affects songwriters and producers, because sometimes we assume that people know. So we're in a period where like songwriters and producers are not properly compensated for the work that they've done, and they're getting paid piss poorly on streams. On the artist front, the master front versus the publishing front, they're getting compensated greatly. And it's a battle that we all deal with on a daily, and I think what will change that is just us advocating, because Congress is looking at, or the Department of Justice is always looking at the music industry as like this group of people who are rich, they have so much money, and the people who are at the forefront are typically superstars that already have been successful and have made it. But what it takes is people who are songwriters and producers not making a living on it and want to make a living, that need to protest and like boycott different things. So I just want to make that clear for the room. A lot of people think that streaming is very profitable for songwriters and producers, but it's actually contrary to the.
My issue with the question was that you said it was shrinking, and I think that's, obviously it's not where it should be, but I don't think it's trending downward. Obviously, the Music Modernization Act hasn't taken effect yet, which was something that went through Congress to make sure that songwriters get paid more on the publishing side of streams. But I also look at the streaming revenue as growing exponentially over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
You have more people paying for music now than ever. You have people paying $12.99 a month for life to listen to everything. Imagine if 15 years ago, the CD you bought shut off after a month because you didn't feel like paying for it again.
But they were mechanical
Yeah.
15 years ago.
And physicals paid more. My thing is, me and Brandon are publishing. It's terrible.
No, it doesn't suck, but I'm saying like looking at songwriters are not being properly compensated sucks on a daily basis.
Because what you'll see the artists who and their team, they have the master side, and the master side pays out more than the publishing end. And you can have a #1 hit song, and you're looking at the numbers, you like, and a producer or writer can have 35%, 30% of the record, and you're looking at the song, and you're saying, this song only made this much in publishing. But then you go to that same, you're talking to the label A&R, he's like, yeah, I'm about to go buy this house over here because this song made, we got 50 million streams. And you're like, 50 million streams, what's that, $2 for us? Not $2, but like, but literally, so it's like, I think, I would say they're working on it to make it better, but it has changed from the time where physicals were sold. You had a #7 on the album, you can go buy a house because that song was selling. Like, you had a #7 on the album, like, it made money. Now you have, if you don't have the single, it's a wrap. So it's like songwriters and producers are always fighting to get the single. And like, if you don't have the single, you just got a song that's coming on the project, you might see $300 each quarter. I'm just being real with you, like in payment. You know, so it's like, that's where it's getting scary, because like now everyone's fighting for the single. You're fighting for the single. If you don't got the single, it's a wrap. And then what happens, you don't have the single, you beat yourself up. You don't have money to live. You can't move around. So it's a lot. And that's why I think the knowledge is important, because a lot of people would throw themselves in these weird deals with publishers or production companies and get stuck because they needed a quick 10 grand, they needed 20 grand, they needed 50 grand, and this person could provide it. And 10 grand and 20 grand is a lot to people. It's a lot of money. And then what happens is you're stuck in this situation. But I think if we increase, when we get to that point, we increase these payouts, we can better educate ourselves. We can properly help the people around us, and it'll just be overall a good thing for us. I think they're working on it. I think they enacted the new law, and it just hasn't gone into effect yet. But they're supposed to increase the payout for songwriters.
So a question to Wallace and to Corey. How do you guys then, feel about this new wave of emerging artists who come as a package, like they're a songwriter, they're a producer, they're also the artists themselves?
I'm cool with it. I work with an artist right now that does it all. To be honest, I think if you're able to write and produce for yourself and able to go out and write for people, I think a lot of artists sometimes, a lot of people want to be artists today. But if you're a songwriter and you have an entryway to say, I can write for other people, use that avenue. Use that as leverage, go in, write a hit song for somebody, and then what you will notice is now you've created a relationship with someone because you've helped change someone else's life through music. That person's going to be more susceptible to coming back and say, hey, look, I'll give you a feature. Hey, look, I'll be on your project. Hey, look, I'll do this for you. Hey, I'll promote you. I'll go speak about you. So I say take advantage of it. Sometimes it can be a hard transitioning going from songwriter to artist because people will still look at you as that songwriter. Hey, you wrote that song. It's hard for them to transition out of that. So you have to be strategic and figure out how to make that pivot because like when you make that pivot sometimes, when you go to artist mode, that money's not coming as fast unless you have a deal coming in place. So I'm okay with it. The biggest thing is the transition from songwriter to artist. Because what happens is sometimes a songwriter can write hits for other people, but they can't write hits for themselves. And it doesn't translate sometimes. Some people are like, I only see you as a songwriter, especially when you're a popular songwriter, you're like, you know, what's the name, trying to be an artist now? And then people are just like, so it's like, you gotta figure out a strategic way to make the pivot. But I'm all for it because one, you save money. One, you ain't gotta deal with as much as people when you're dealing with splits. And I'm cool with it, but it's just the biggest thing is making that transition from songwriter to artist.
What about you, Corey?
I agree with Wallace in that it's, I feel like often the songwriter artist, their passion and dream is being an artist. And being a songwriter is definitely a great entryway. And I think it's very important to know and develop and create your own sound, and no matter what, protect that sound and not give that away to other people. Definitely work with other people. It's a good way to transition, get in the game. Many of the biggest artists today, a big number, started off as songwriters. Just to do that transition, I think you need to have your own sound. And I think just with talking about the new generation, there's a lot of issues and mindset of new generation for people in all positions in this business, and probably life in general, but specifically with the songwriter artists, I think just to not, well, once you're doing the artist stage, to remember that like the followers and stuff like that don't really mean as much. You need to, I think a lot of the new generation forgets the development stage and how much time and importance there is in developing real fans, and not just getting one big hit or one big feature or even 100,000 followers. That's not developing real, true fans. And I think it's just important to still do all the necessary steps that it takes to become an artist. And sometimes, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it, but sometimes some of these songwriters, it really hurts them, and it's career ending when they try to become artists. Many, if not, probably somewhere between 90 and 95%. I find that like we've worked with songwriters who are successful and having great buzz, and some producers too that I know, want to be rappers. Once that happens, the career is over. Because and in this game you can't afford to have a quiet year, 2 years, especially with the amount of people that are coming up all the time. So consistency is super important, and I think obviously being focused on one thing is important. But if you're having a good run at a songwriter, that the hundreds of thousands or millions of people who want to make it in this industry, it's extremely hard. I think you kind of got to keep running with it. And if you got a big hit for yourself, try it. If it doesn't, you got to keep the songwriting thing going. Like everyone said here, like I slept on couches and floors for the first couple of years. Everyone back home saw I was in Hollywood with celebrities. And congratulations, you made it. You're rich. But I'm broke, sleeping on couches. I'm in mansions, but they're not my mansions.
You got a mansion now, though.
So my next question is for my next question is I was trying to swing it on by you. My next question is for AD and for Brandra. So what is the best way to get music placement? We talked a little bit about the licensing stuff and royalties and A&Rs but what's the best way?
The best way is to have a relationship with the artist directly. We deal with pitching music on a daily, which has become almost impossible at this point. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating for us as publishers, and it's frustrating for songwriters and producers because we have these writing sessions, and sometimes they happen on a daily, and they make amazing music, and we'll pitch amazing music to A&Rs or to managers, and for whatever reason, maybe politics, maybe clicks, whatever, the song is passed on. The song may never be listened to. But if you're working directly with an artist, you have a higher chance of getting a record placed. We did a City Girls Camp in Atlanta for the past week, and the main thing that I wanted to focus on was making sure that the girls were actually there, and so the girls were there, and so our artists have direct relationships they're building with them. That's really the way to do it because people don't want to really be a part of something that they're not organically tied to, and so when people can feel who you are, they feel more attached to the material that you're producing.
Yeah, sorry, just have one more thing, but she said also, yes, we all love music and it's art and it's fun, but this shit still work and it's every day, and people want to work with people that they like, and I think forming relationships is the most important. That's why if you have to intern or whatever you got to do just to become friends with people and form a genuine relationship, there's artists get tons of good beats and good songs, but the ones that make the album are the ones that they have relationships with.
Right.
So people send me beats every day, people send songs to artists every day, but when 90% of Murda's placements and our placements have happened when we've had a relationship with the artists that they want to spend time with us in the studio, because that's our office, right?
And it also speaks to what I've noticed, that a lot of artists, producers, songwriters, they're introverts nowadays. And it doesn't really help you in the room when someone needs you to feed off of. Artists are vulnerable. They want to be in a position where they can really go and lay their life out. They can tell you exactly what they're going through, and you can help them execute it. It sucks when you put a producer in the room who's completely, incredibly talented, and they can't really produce the artist.
My take on it, it can be for either getting placements with artists or in film.
Yeah.
Content, what are you producing? What does your catalog look like in your personal library? I was managing producers and artists as well, and one thing, when I was able to get into A&R rooms, we'll play a few songs, but then they'll come back and say, hey, send us a group of your songs, so what you want to get an idea of your sound, and a lot of times say, man, I want to just work with the artist and figure out their sound and produce it organically. Sometimes that doesn't work. You don't have time for that sometimes. You have to already have some working idea of your product, of your sound. Because if you can go into a room and say, I want to work with this artist, they say, okay, what do you sound like? And then you want to have one track. That doesn't look good sometimes. And so I think going back to the studio, making sure, whether it's a working idea, it could be 60 seconds of a track. And to do that, having content, because music supervisors will call me all the time of different tracks, of different films they're working on. I'm needing, a female vocalist for this, and we may not have it, so I may reach out to an artist and say, okay, I'm not even on the production team, but I'm trying to do my due diligence and help out, get these placements. And some of the artists are not able to get back to me fast enough, saying, I'm creating right now, what do you need? If you already have some ideas working, then you can always easily get back and send it out to us faster. So.
Alrighty guys, so we are going to open it up for you guys to be able to ask some questions to our panelists right now. So same as last time, if you're